Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your daily source for Black news, views, and opinions. Today is Thursday, June 30th, and I am Mimi Brown.
And I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo. And on today's report, we are going to talk about Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. She's the 116th Supreme Court Justice. She was sworn in this morning. Meanwhile, a team looking in a basement of Mississippi Courthouse says that they've discovered an unserved warrant for the white woman who initiated the hunt that led to the death of Emmett Till. The warrant was for Carolyn Bryant Donham, who was identified as Miss Roy Bryant on that document. Then, Brittney Griner's case is the fullest attention of the president as of now. That's according to National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. He says the U.S. is actively trying to get Brittney Griner back home.
Plus, Grammy Award winner Lizzo says Beyonce has helped her mental health during her guest appearance on Car Karaoke. Lizzo opened up about how Beyonce has given her hope in dark times. An exhibit says Viacom CBS owes him a bag. That's right, the rapper and former host of Pimp My Ride. The company owes him a substantial amount of money from the success of his hit show. We have all of that and so much more. This is our voice and our truth, so let's get it.
All right, well, history is being made today. The first black woman in history is now on the Supreme Court.
All of the members of the court, I am pleased to welcome Justice Jackson to the court and to our common calling.
Ketanji Brown Jackson was sworn in this morning. Jackson replaces Stephen Breyer for the lifetime appointment. She worked for Breyer as a law clerk. Jackson is starting her lifetime term at an interesting time for the court. The justice's recent decision on Roe v. Wade and New York's gun permit law causing political earthquakes last week. You know, I love this. Congratulations. Today is history in the making. I am so happy to even be sitting here to be able to report on something like this. We'll be looking back years from now talking about this day. I don't even want to murk the waters with the fact that, you know, we can talk about how the court won't change. It'll still be more conservative. What I do want to talk about, what I want to focus on, is that today is Ketanji Day. It is literally Ketanji Brown Jackson Day. It took 232 years and 115 prior appointments for a black woman to sit on the Supreme Court. And so today we just want to give her her flowers, and we are so happy that we are living history right now.
I love Ketanji Brown Jackson Day. You know, we're just seeing history for black women, for black people, just stemming from Barack Obama and then to Kamala Harris and Ketanji Brown Jackson, Stacey Abrams. We are just seeing, who am I forgetting? So many more. We're Senator Raphael Warnock. Right. We're just seeing so many beautiful black people step into these powerful positions. And again, I love being able to witness history on today.
Well, it's been a long time coming, and we as black people and people of color, like we've struggled and we've fought for our right and to be a part of this country that is ours as well. So to see this happen, and I believe she's the first public defender. Double correct me on that if I'm wrong. But, you know, and that's a huge thing. But we can, like you said, we're not going to talk about what's going on right now, but can she be a big factor moving forward? Absolutely. And this will open up doors for many, many more black men and women that are truly inspired by this.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping for that too, more people to be inspired.
Absolutely, because as far as I'm concerned, she's the only black person sitting on the Supreme Court right now.
Okay. She said it. Let it be
That's
known.
all we care about. She said what she said. So a team looking in a basement in the Mississippi courthouse, they say that they've uncovered a unserved warrant for the white woman who initiated the hunt that led to the death of Emmett Till. The warrant was for Carolyn Bryant Donham, who was identified as Miss Roy Bryant in the document. The 1955 document was in a file folder that had been placed in a box. The Emmett Till Legacy Foundation includes 2 Till family members. They want police to use the warrant to arrest Donham, who was married to one of the men who were tried and found not guilty in the murder of Till. Carolyn Bryant Donham is 88 years old and lives in North Carolina. This is the story that a lot of people, black people especially, feel a very certain way about. Doesn't really care about our age. None of that matters. We have so many black Americans that we talk about day in and day out that have served time that they didn't even deserve to be there. They come out of jail 80, 90 years old. The justice system did not care about those people being there, did not care about their age, did not care about their health. So I don't think that we should be giving 2 cents about how old she is or anything for that matter.
No, I agree. Here's the thing. Why are we just now finding this? And the family, it says it was family members and relatives of the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation. So what happened to the federal investigators? What happened to the state investigators over the last 67 years? No one could find this. And then when the arrest warrant was initially served, they didn't want to serve it because they said they didn't want to arrest this woman with 2 small children. They don't care if it were us. You know, they will break our homes up, take out our fathers and our brothers and our mothers, and like you said, wrongfully convict us and then don't want to pay us later on, make up rules as to why they don't have to pay us. And that's exactly what we're seeing. We see that they arrest Nazis. You know, that if you did something in the Holocaust,
we saw that.
They'll come and arrest you. They arrested a man in Germany who was 101 years old for his role in the Holocaust. So she's what, in her 80s?
In her 80s, and you think about just black people alone, man. Who had the audacity to take this and just not even rip it up, burn it? They just piled it and stored it away to be found decades later. A life was lost. This changed a part of history that we can never take back. You know what I'm saying? For decades, we'll be talking about the history of what his family went through, and we still deal with this today. So the fact that this is coming to light just goes to show you things would not stay hidden. They would not stay in the dark forever. And when they do, you have to suffer the repercussions from this. And she's 88, and she needs to do some time behind bars.
She sure does. You know, I'm going to say something that may be a little controversial.
Okay.
But if we can arrest Bill Cosby later for whatever happened before, 50 years or whatever, however long it may be, we can arrest someone for murder.
There we go.
Absolutely. Our Brittney Griner's case has the fullest attention of the president. That's according to National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. He says the U.S. is actively trying to get Brittney Griner back home. A Russian court this week set Griner's trial for tomorrow. Now, her detention has also been extended for 6 months, pending the outcome of the trial. Sullivan says he and Secretary of State Antony Blinken have spoken with Griner's wife, Sherelle. Sherelle Griner has complained in public that the Biden administration did not seem to be doing enough to free her wife. Brittney has been held in Russian captivity since February. And, you know, yes, I love the fact that we continue to talk about it. I love the fact that they're reaching out. But how can we get her home? I feel like the longer that she's over there, the more danger she's in. And you can't be, like, treated this way for this crime that they're trying to charge her for. Like, it can get really worse, and we don't want that.
You know, I really didn't like the first photo that they showed of her. Like, it was like, oh, this is the first photo that we have. But she looked just in shock, and I just didn't, that photo, and then there's another one that's circulating right now. I think that it's so strange that we went from at first, like, we're not going to talk about it, to now it is the top priority of the president. We didn't even want to mention this, and I'm worried about those moments might have been pivotal moments, because we're like, we don't want to speak, we don't want to upset the Russians, and now look at what's happening now, and I'm kind of nervous. Like, what do we miss in those beginning moments? What if those were some moments we could have made a life or death decision for her?
No, that's a really good point. The trial starts tomorrow, and hopefully we will see what happens from there. They said it could take up to 2 months, and they have extended her detention pending the trial for up to 6 months. So we'll see. Let's remain hopeful.
Yes.
We're definitely
right. A lawyer for Ginny Thomas writing a letter to the January 6th committee wanting a better justification as to why her client's testimony is relevant. Thomas's attorney says she needs answers before his client will be allowed to testify. Thomas has become the subject of interest by the committee after it learned she corresponded with John Eastman, the lawyer involved in the Donald Trump pressure campaign against Vice President Mike Pence. Now, Thomas also went to the Stop the Steal rally that preceded the Capitol attack. Now, given all of that, Thomas's attorneys claim there is no sufficient basis for Thomas to speak. Her hesitation, though, is leading people to call for the House committee to subpoena and compel her to testify.
In a petition to impeach Clarence Thomas has over 500,000 signatures online. MoveOn.org has organized a petition to kick Justice Clarence off of the High Court. The petition doesn't mention the recent Roe versus Wade issue, but it does focus on the insurrection. This petition says that Thomas voted against a Supreme Court decision that forced the release of Donald Trump's records regarding the Capitol riots.
Leaders of Planned Parenthood said they will fight in every state to ensure pregnant women and those seeking abortion services will continue to have access to reproductive rights. President Alexis McGill Johnson says she isn't worried about the impact of trigger laws ending abortion in states like Missouri and Oklahoma, but Johnson says the Supreme Court's decision will embolden new states to move quickly to restrict the right to abortions. Planned Parenthood provides multiple services, including giving out birth control and testing for STDs.
And the U.S. Supreme Court is reinstating a Republican-drawn congressional map in Louisiana that federal judge and voting rights activists say dilutes the African-American voting power in the state. All 6 conservatives, including Clarence Thomas, voted to block the federal judge's ruling that ordered the Louisiana state legislature redraw the map. But the high court's order gives plaintiffs a chance to re-argue the case. Now, Louisiana has 6 congressional districts. Black people make up a third of the state. Voting rights activists argue at least 2 of the districts should be a majority African American.
And now that Roe versus Wade has been overturned, could Brown versus the Board of Education be next? That's what legal experts are asking. Brown ruled that school segregation based solely on race is unconstitutional. Justice Thomas says that cases that fall under what is known as substantive due process may be up for reconsideration by the court. Substantive due process, it protects people from the government who are infringing on their fundamental rights like marriage or privacy. Neither of those are mentioned in the Constitution. The court does say that they are implied, however, but many legal experts say that gay marriage and contraception are most in danger if the court decides to revisit those rulings.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul cruised to an easy primary win Tuesday, but some black politicians in the state say she didn't do enough to get the black and Latino vote out. Hochul, who won 67% of the vote, will go up against Republican Lee Zeldin, who beat Andrew Giuliani's son, the former New York City mayor. But turnout in the city as well as the state was low. Former Congressman Charles Ringo asked 2 of his Hochul political aides where her campaign was, and they said her low-key campaign, especially in black and Latino areas of the state, will hurt her in the November election. In vote-rich New York City, less than 900,000 of the city's 3.6 million eligible voters went to the polls on Tuesday. Ringo and other Democrats are worried Hochul's campaign is leaving vote-rich black and Latino neighborhoods off its radar.
And the police chief of a suburban Detroit police department is apologizing for using images of black men as shooting targets. Farmington Hills Police Chief Jeff King asked for forgiveness after it was discovered that his officers used images of black men as shooting targets during training. It was discovered during a Boy Scouts troop tour of the police department headquarters. King says the targets have been removed, and the city's mayor says she plans to conduct a legal review of the department's conduct. Now, Farmington Hills is only 20% black. Listen, it took Boy Scouts, little boys, to go in there and point this out. No one else in the entire department realized that they were using black images as shooting targets. Little kids who are in their early forming stages realized that this was wrong, but not grown men realized this was wrong.
You know, I don't think that they realized that it was wrong. I think subconsciously this is how they view black Americans. The people that created this document or the formatting here, I think that they knew exactly what they were doing, and this is how they look at us, that we are targets, and they're practicing for the real world. Because if you think about it, this is exactly what's happening in the real world. They're killing us and finding us as a target and taking us out one by one.
20% black in that area, yet that's your target. That's what you're assuming you're going to encounter each and every time you're out in the streets. It's horrible. It's disrespectful. And for it to still be happening in 2022, which is, I feel like, a line that we use so often when we're on this show because we can't believe things are still happening that should not be, right? So, you know, shouts out to the Boy Scouts for going in and recognizing what's really, really out of pocket.
And, you know, younger kids, they'll point out everything. They'll be like, Mom, something looks wrong about that. And I'm happy that they did that. The Supreme Court says that state agencies are not immune from private lawsuits under a federal law meant to protect employment rights for returning veterans. The 5-4 decision will strengthen work protections for thousands of state-employed vets returning from serving in the reserves or the National Guard. The decision came down to a clash between Congress's authority to provide for national defense and the state's ability to decide when it gets sued.
Speaking of stories that we still talk about in 2022, this one right here. A church in Arkansas has been accused of discriminating against a black woman. Donna Mack says she was not allowed to attend services at a First Baptist Church, Forest City, last Sunday. Now, Mack wrote on her Facebook page detailing her encounter. She says, after walking into the church, an older white woman asked her why she was there. She then said services didn't start until 11 a.m., but Mack says she noticed people coming into the building. Mack says she asked if black people were allowed in the church. One woman said, quote, "We've had coloreds here before." The pastor of the church, Steve Walter, says it was just a case of miscommunication and everyone is welcome to worship at the church.
Okay. All right, well, New York Mayor Eric Adams is calling for former Mayor Rudy Giuliani to be investigated for making a false police report. This is grocery store surveillance video of Rudy campaigning for his son, Andrew, who lost his bid to become governor of New York. A store worker comes by and taps Rudy on the back. He reportedly yelled curse words at the former mayor and mentioned that Roe v. Wade decision. He talked to him about that, by the Supreme Court. But the former mayor says the man hit him so hard, it felt like he was struck by a bullet. Rudy says the slap almost knocked him to the ground.
I looked at the video. And someone needs to remind former Mayor Giuliani that forcibly reporting a crime is a crime. And from what he stated about being punched in the head, felt like a bullet, what he stated, there was a lot of creativity. And I think the district attorney he has the wrong person that he's investigating.
Daniel Gill was initially charged with second-degree assault, which is a felony charge, and that was reduced to third-degree assault misdemeanor charge. He was also charged with third-degree menacing.
A white Florida man is being sentenced to probation after he pled guilty to pointing a gun at a black homeowner. Joseph Fuchek has also been ordered to stop pretending that he's a Navy SEAL or a police officer. Fuchek pled guilty this week to aggravated assault with a firearm. Police say during the time of the George Floyd protests in 2020, Fuchek drove up to a black man's house and put an advertising card in the man's mailbox as he was talking to a neighbor. When the man took the card out, Fuchek went on a racist rant. He then lunged at the man and pulled his gun out and pointed it at the victim.
A stretch of Southern California beach property is being returned by Los Angeles County to descendants of its black owners a century after it was stolen. The LA County Board of Supervisors this week voted unanimously to give Bruce's Beach back to the family of Charles and Willa Bruce. The area, which is in Manhattan Beach, was used as a resort for black families. The Bruces bought the land in 1912 for $1,200. Manhattan Beach officials took the land in 1924. The county will now rent the property from the family under a 24-month lease agreement that will be $413,000 per year. The property is estimated to be worth $20 million, with beachfront homes going for $7 million. We're talking over 100 years to get to this situation right after they bought it. I'm shocked that it only took just over a year to resolve this, but it actually just shows the proof in the pudding that this just should have never been taken away to begin with. Now, they have this situation. I want to know if they want to, if they can take it back to the point, like I know there's land, there's property here. We want all of that. I mean, can they get to that point, or would they be happy with what they're going to be getting from the state and from the county as well?
I'm excited to see what's going to be built. And I feel like black people are very excited about this. Like black people have been, we've been talking about this story for a very, very long time. I remember from the inception of this case. And so to see it kind of unfold, I'm just happy to have something that's like, look, this is a black beach. Like this is something that black people own. And I want to like stick my feet in the sand and just go there and post up, maybe get an Airbnb for the weekend. I don't know, and just be there and just soak up the energy. That's kind of where I'm focused on right now.
Yeah, no, we have been, and this is great news, but doesn't $413,000 a year, that's what they're going to pay the family, doesn't that seem kind of low if it's $20 million a year? If it's worth it's worth $20 million, they're only giving them $413,000 a year.
Right, but then also too, you have to think about the property. How much money can they make? If you have $400,000, but can't they make money from the property though? Too, I feel like they can.
But they already have homes there.
Yeah, so
maybe give them that a month. I would feel more.
That's what I was saying. Like a month,
okay.
$413,000 a year versus it's worth more than $20 million. There's beachfront homes that cost $7 million on the property already. So $413,000 a year seems
Think about this. If they get a piece of the property tax, that should even enhance it and make it
But
more,
that could be. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that there was probably a deal that said, hey, you know, you have to take this small amount, but no worries. There's another way that you can make money on a monthly basis. That's what I'm thinking.
Interesting.
Property tax is a good
I'd
idea.
be like, look, this is my land. I'm just gonna gut it out.
I want it
and
all.
redo what I wanna
Exactly.
do.
Everyone can go. Start from scratch.